it could be their last game at Anfield for a while. They should have gone all out.
I've been wanting to say this all day. Yeah, it's the last Merseyside derby for a few years.
Everton are staying on what?
No.
So your hot take is Everton are going down?
But in fairness, it's going to be your last Champions League for a while. Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Yahoo Footballing Weekly. With me, Yahoo columnist and best-selling author Neil Humphreys.
And me, Yahoo editor Chia Keong. And we are glad to have our good friend Daryl back again.
Hi guys, I'm back.
We're very glad to have you this week, Daryl. Particularly glad this week. How did you get on at the weekend? I can't remember.
Every time Spurs lose, I'm here.
Well, you lose a lot, Daryl. So the law of averages suggests you're going to be here quite often, right?
Actually, this is the fourth time here, I think.
Did you lose every time?
We'll check the record.
All right, let's get into that straight away then.
Yeah.
Okay, seeing as you're here, Leicester 4, Tottenham 1. Arguably the best Leicester performance all season. Maddison was fantastic. They picked Spurs to come good.
One week, you beat Man City. The next week, you lose 4-1 to Leicester. What the...
How?
Yeah.
Shocking performance from Spurs players. I think since after the World Cup and then the Premier League came back, Spurs have played about 8 Premier League games and they've lost 4 of them.
Okay, up, down.
So and 3 wins and draw. So it's like you win 1, lose 1, win 1, lose 1. Seems the players can't keep a consistent performance going. Like how did they beat Man City 1-0 and then the next game, lose to Leicester. And they went ahead against Leicester. And then they just collapsed. I think can see individual players very poor, like Eric Dyer.
Very poor.
Was very poor. Fraser Foster didn't look confident or didn't give confidence to the players. And then Pedro Porro, like bad debut as well. And then up front, nothing much happening between like Kane, Son and Kulusevski. And then Romero suspended. Lloris was already out.
Now you got Bentancur out for the season.
And now Bentancur is out with the ACL injury again. So not a good performance. And then when you take into account the injury, it's really difficult to see how Spurs will get 4th.
What about Antonio Conte? Because if I've got this right, he's been unbelievably brave. It takes at least 2 or 3 weeks to convalesce and overcome from gallbladder surgery, which he had in Italy. And he's back within days. But he missed the Man City game. So he's missed the Man City game, which they've won. He's returned for the Leicester game, which they've lost. He's going back to, I think he's in Italy as we speak because of the Champions League, right? So he's visiting his home country a lot more. He's had those 3 terrible tragedies in his life. He's lost 3 of his closest friends, very young, prematurely to illness.
Personal health problems.
Personal health issues as well. His family, I believe, are still back in Italy. I think his kids are going to school in Italy.
He still stay there.
He's not staying, Daryl, is he? I mean, let's get it out there. His contract is up at the end of the season. Honestly, at this point, I'll be amazed if he even gets to the end of the season.
Yeah, I think when you look at it from Conte's point of view, personally, it's been like tough going for him. And then I don't know if the club would actively want to approach him and ask him to extend the contract.
They'd rather not hear.
And then imagine if you were not feeling well, you had an operation and you came back too fast, and then I don't know, you really want to be focusing on work. And he's left a few more months on his contract and he still hasn't renewed. And it's difficult to motivate players. Like how are you going to tell the players, okay guys, come on, we got to play well for Spurs, try and get into Champions League next season. But then will he be around next season? So I think Conte, it really looks like he won't be staying, he won't be renewing. I think under the Christian Stellini, the assistant coach, and then Ryan Mason, the rest of the coaching team, I think they will be a better motivating factor at the current point than Conte.
But they will live together with Conte. I think they always have nowadays coaches are all in teams already.
But Ryan Mason will stay.
Ryan Mason because it's there. But
Big question for you, Han Keong, about Tottenham is, do you care?
Not really. But they are above Liverpool, so it's a good. You're aiming to overtake them.
It's a shame though, because on a serious note, Tottenham has one of the best stadiums, if not the best stadium in Europe, certainly in English football. They're relatively debt free. They had that period of adjustment, almost like Arsenal when they had to put their stadium ahead of their squad. They've mostly done that now. they've got to open the purse strings. They've got to stretch out those purse strings, surely. I know we have this conversation about Levy every season, the chairman of Tottenham, Daniel Levy. But what are you expecting from them? At the moment, they're a mid-table side, Daryl.
But I think, like, Spurs have tried to sign players, right? But, you know, it's down to the manager or the players itself that it hasn't worked out. Like, we've signed Pedro Porro. Before that, we signed, like, Lo Celso and Ndombele in the past few years. There have been signings that have come to the club, but, you know, the tactics haven't worked or the formation hasn't worked. So we can't say, like, there's a lack of investment. It's really about the players or the coaches trying to get it right on the pitch, like how other teams have, like Newcastle have, or even like Arsenal have done so this season.
Yeah, but it's North London. Nobody wants to go there.
Yeah,
So why not? Why would you want to go to
wants to go to
Manchester or
North
Liverpool
London.
when you can come to like London?
But anyway, let us know what you think. Tottenham, will Antonio Conte make it to the end of the season, or will he go back to Italy? Send all of your comments, queries and questions, particularly to Daryl. Just send them all to Daryl. I'd send them to
Yahoo Southeast Asia on YouTube, Yahoo SG, Yahoo_MY on Twitter, and Yahoo SEA on TikTok.
All right. Now, title race. As we speak, as you watch this, Manchester City are playing or about to play Arsenal. So we'll just quickly talk about that. But I want to talk more briefly about Manchester City first. I am slightly bewildered by their response to these 100 alleged breaches.
Right.
Now, innocent until proven guilty. They have not been found guilty of anything. They could be absolved of everything, and they could come to work after the
All
case.
100 will be resolved.
Literally in white robes. You know, white robes, Michael Jackson style. We are purer than pure. I'll believe it when I see it. But I just find that Manchester City could go a long way right now with a little bit of humility. I don't think if you want to be something other than a pantomime villain, you should be really screaming F the Premier League, F the Premier League,
And put
whenever you score.
you saw the banner with the middle finger.
Exactly. Right? So
Investigate this.
before Manchester City kicked off, they played the Premier League anthem. They booed,
Booed
they
it,
booed
yeah.
all the way through it, as they've been doing with the Champions League.
Right.
They score their first goal against Aston Villa, and the chant is F the Premier League, F the Premier League. Is this going to become a running thing? Is this what Man City are going to do now? They seem to be going all in on their villainy. Do they really want to be the most hated side in English football? Because they seem to be going that way.
I mean, I actually had a bit of sympathy with what Guardiola said, is that we are being condemned even before.
Correct.
I felt, I think we were a bit too much. I think.
But the first part, just to interrupt, the first part I had sympathy. When he started doing his, Oliver Stone, JFK, conspiracy theories, Elvis is still alive, man never landed on the moon.
Yeah.
It's all 19 clubs are out to get us.
Yeah,
then he lost me.
Lost me a bit. Then finally the match is like, come on, y'all are just making things even worse. I know backs against the wall, your
siege
club
mentality.
is siege mentality, but you're not doing yourself any favors by being such a
100%.
100% idiots.
Yeah, well, you said that. I would say 100%. I agree
Sorry,
with you.
Sorry, Haizam, you're not. But,
Man City fans.
Well, Haizam, Man City fans, do let us know what you think. I watched the overlap with Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher, and I almost felt sorry for the Manchester City supporter in the audience because he was getting it from everybody. And as he said, quite rightly, I've supported them since they were 2 divisions down, and I'll still support them if they get relegated. And I think that'll be the same for the vast majority of for Haizam in Singapore, for Man City supporters. It's not their fault.
Yeah.
It's not Pep Guardiola's fault.
Yep.
That's a conditional. It's not his fault. It depends what happens with the findings of the commission. But I would just say from now until, maybe not until the commission's findings, because that may take years, but at least until the end of the season, maybe just pull it back a bit. Maybe pull the rhetoric back a little bit.
And now we're at that fine point of season when Arsenal are struggling just a bit, and Man City are making their move up, trying to close the gap. You could very well overtake Arsenal by the time this thing comes up. So, and I know everybody's not really. For the past years, because they've been winning so much, Man City already feels like a pantomime villain already.
Yeah.
But right now it's like everybody's turning against supporting Arsenal. I'm sorry, but I think Spurs fans are also might be like thinking, let them just.
No, you went too far.
No,
You went too far there.
No.
There is no Spurs fan
I just try my luck, but
on earth who wants Arsenal to win. Am I right?
No way. We rather
you're so your side with.
we rather
Man City,
just let Man City win it.
Oh come on!
I mean, because Man City, their finances are definitely suspect. Yeah,
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
They apparently one of the charges is they haven't been upfront or cooperating with the Premier League in terms of the investigations. So I mean, they will have to face the consequences. Actually, Spurs did encounter such an issue back in like the early 90s.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like I think Spurs
Alan
were hit
Sugar?
with
Alan Sugar, yeah.
under
Terry
Alan
Venables.
Sugar. And then they were hit with like a 12-point penalty. They were thrown out of the FA Cup, and then they appealed it. They were allowed back into the FA Cup, but I think they were still deducted maybe like 6 points or something like that.
Forgotten about that.
Yeah, so it has happened before in the early years of the Premier League. For sure, Man City will be deducted points at some point. At some point lah.
So
I think.
Arsenal just need to like trail them like maybe 2 or 3 points, and then
But you don't know how long investigations will take.
That's
It
true.
will take
But
like
it
years
is a
and
good
years.
point you make, Daryl, because I think there's a perception, particularly among young supporters who may not remember the history, is that Man City would never get points deduction or they'd never get relegated.
That's the
no,
minimum.
there is a. There's a number of precedents. Spurs, you mentioned there, for different reasons, not
Yeah.
the same issues. Derby got one. Swindon famously was relegated. Wasn't for the same issue, but they were relegated. There are precedents, and they will relegate you if they find you guilty or give you fines or points deductions.
Yeah.
But this idea that it's Man City, they're too big, the EPL is too big. That is not the case. They've done it in Europe. They've done it with Juventus. If they find you guilty, best case scenario is points deduction,
Yeah.
I think. Best case, because there is no precedent for more than 100 charges for Manchester City. We're in uncharted territory here. So I come back to my point. The more you scream, beat the Premier League, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think the Premier League lawyers are sitting there going, isn't that nice? We're going to sit back now and let your £10,000 an hour lawyer rip us to shreds. No, the EPL's going to double down.
Yeah,
They're going to
they will.
double down. They're going to bring in the best legal eagles, the best legal teams. They're going to put together the best case.
Yep.
You are setting yourself up here, Manchester City fans, for a major fall. That's all I would say.
Although I wasn't that surprised by the Manchester fans' their reaction.
No, the booing, I agree. I expected that. They've done that in the Champions League for years. I'm not surprised by the booing of the Premier League anthem.
But
The idea that your first reaction when you score a goal, because it was when they scored against Villa, your first reaction is not to cheer or it's to say that. I'd be very interested to see what they do against Arsenal and in future fixtures. If they keep doing it, they could get fined for that. I don't know.
They'll be the first Premier League team to join the European Super League.
Here we go. There's the segue.
That's the segue.
See, that's why he gets the big bucks. All right, let's get to the European Super League. Daryl, you can come in on this first. It's back in the news. There's PowerPoint presentations apparently going around again.
Can I just say this wonderful quote from the Football Supporters Association? The walking corpse that is the European Super League twitches again with all the self-awareness one associated with a zombie.
Yeah,
perfect.
Great. But I'll tell you what is perfect, because there's a sinister undertone there. The word walking.
Yeah.
It's not just a zombie. It's not just a corpse. It's moving, and soon it'll be talking.
Yeah, like the 28 days later, it'll be like
it'll be like Sean
running,
and it'll be talking, and it'll be running, and it'll be attacking, and suddenly you are being attacked by this zombie. So don't take it for granted. It's not going away.
So from the original, if you all remember, 2 years ago they come out with this European Super League plan. 12 top clubs around Europe trying to form a new league. Obviously, it was shot down by fans, by UEFA, even by the UK government, Boris Johnson, for political points.
Remember him? He was 3 prime ministers ago.
During his COVID party.
Yes, during his COVID party. So now they've just come back with another 10-point manifesto, which among them says, now we'll have 60, 80 teams instead, all over Europe. And they can play in their own leagues, but also play in our league. And there'll be a division system so that there'll be relegation, this and that. So in effect, it's almost like a parallel Champions League.
Yeah.
It's a league parallel to the Champions League.
Yep.
It's obviously it's out to have a fairer share of the money, the TV money is around. Although you don't know whether obviously UEFA is going to be fully against this. But it's coming back again. It's like.
But do you know if you go to like European Super League, type it into your Google search, you can still find the original Super League site, and it still has the 12 clubs there, like rotating as part of the website. Like if I'm any of those clubs, I'll contact them and say like, get my logos,
Man
off
City,
the
once
page.
they're expelled from the Premier League, they will be the first one to
like-
join.
You was one of them. Tottenham was involved,
even Spurs,
which is
Spurs-
hilarious because you
even
are not
Spurs is
part of the
still there.
elite.
Like, they will always call us with the cool guys for the party.
Oh,
I wouldn't want to miss
no,
out.
no.
But this new
At any party, there's always one you invite because you feel sorry for them. That's Tottenham.
That's now what they're
Okay.
planning to do with that 60 teams.
But basically, this new European Super League, this new version 2, is something that they're going after UEFA and they're going after the Champions
Obviously,
League
yeah.
and the
going
Europa
after the
League and all
EPL.
this. Yeah. And I think in one of the 10 points they mentioned is that like clubs in France or in
far-flung,
Spain had to mortgage their futures or compromise their futures and all this. But this is because they are jealous of the English Premier League and the way all the money is concentrated in England. But they really have to step up their product. Like even when we talk about local football, we say SPL needs to step up. But that's what the other leagues in Europe, also have to do instead of
Yeah.
always selling to
I think
Wolverhampton
that-
or to Bournemouth.
I think there's a problem that the Premier League is now far and away the
Correct.
most lucrative.
100%.
That's
Super
a problem because it pressure on the other clubs. But European Super League, I don't think is the solution to all this. But it will keep coming back. They will refine it. Like you say, the zombie will eventually learn how to run, eventually learn how to think for itself.
But to the kids out there, right, this idea of a European Super League has always been there. Like when I was
Yeah.
a kid in the
That's
90s,
how the
they
Champions
used to
League-
say these kind of things. And I thought to myself, it would be cool if all these teams played together. And then I found out, there's the European Cup or Champions League. So that's good enough. I mean, the details may be not the best for all teams, but that's between them and UEFA and the club association
I
to work
agree.
it out.
This is where you really can't be complacent. You are right. The zombie analogy to the European Super League is a really good one because it will keep coming and coming and coming. And what used to be the greatest deterrent to the European Super League, which was the EPL, could become its greatest strength. And what I'm concerned about is that the European Super League have realised that they've really got to win the moral argument. They lost it 2 years ago. No relegation, closed shop, elite taking all the money. Now they're saying smartly, there already is a European Super League. It's called the EPL. They have 11 clubs in the top 20 of the Deloitte Money Super League.
Right.
So you already have a dominant elite closed shop. It's called the EPL. And we are coming along as an antidote to that, which is very appealing to Spanish clubs, Italian clubs, German clubs, and any French club that isn't called Paris Saint-Germain. That is the concern. They're changing their PR. They're being much smarter. They're saying now it's about the moral argument. We are not the threat. We are trying to defeat the threat, which is the English Premier League. If that argument takes hold, that's a worry. And it could happen.
It could happen. But right now, their real enemy is actually UEFA, isn't it? I mean, the background is obviously Premier League, the getting to it. But now you have a product, which is more or less similar to the Champions League. Champions League is going to become a league system anyway soon. So I don't know how they're going to coexist. One must definitely overtake the other. And neither of them are going to compromise on that.
No,
So,
it'll be a legal minefield, but it's not about the Champions League, is it? It's about the domestic revenue that they're losing.
Yeah.
They're losing TV subscriptions for Serie A. La Liga, global viewership is down. The EPL is threatening to engulf all of them. So, let's see what happens. I do think this one is going to run and run. All right, I want to get this one in because our man is in red today. Before we wrap this up, just a quick one.
Valentine's Day red.
Okay. To express his love for Liverpool.
The love of my life gave me 2 prata kosong.
There you go. Are they back? Are they back? They beat Everton in the Merseyside derby. What do you think?
Okay, relief first because finally stopped the rod a bit. It's a step in the right direction, yes, but it's still 9th position.
Yeah.
They're still just above Chelsea, so both of us are still mediocre.
Quick one. I was going to say this. I don't know what you two guys think, Daryl. You're objective. You can answer this one. I'm still not convinced about Nunes. I know he had a great run for the
first
counter-attacking
goal,
goal and he played in Salah. That was great. But there were a couple of opportunities he went through And I just never feel comfortable he's going to score. I never feel confident. He reminds me of Antonio at West Ham. Whenever Antonio goes through for West Ham, I'm already thinking, please get the rebound. Before he even shoots, I'm thinking, please get the rebound. I'm a bit like that with Nunes.
I agree. I do also have that kind of...
You're never sure, are you?
Is he going to do it?
He's not Torres. Yeah. He's not Kane. He's not Salah.
Firmino. He's not Sadio Mane.
Correct.
For sure.
Yeah, but he's only 22, right? So there's still time. So I think playing on the wing...
And Haaland is how old?
Haaland's a freak.
I'm just saying.
So hopefully he should be given the benefit of doubt from our fans, from the fan base. We're giving him the benefit of doubt, and he's not exactly non-existent on the pitch. He's contributing, so we are okay. We give you time, but obviously, we are all of us, like I said, it's not that clinical, isn't he?
I think we can fairly say that elite is Mbappe, Haaland, who else?
Antonio.
Yeah, but definitely not Darwin Nunes at this moment in time.
No, definitely.
Yeah, still a work in progress.
He could get there.
But unlucky for Everton. Like Everton at the corner, there was a header, hit the post.
They're not unlucky.
Liverpool went the other end and scored. So Liverpool just nicked
terrible.
it. So Liverpool, the greater concern is like, what is the style of play? So it's just counter-attack now.
It could be their last. It could be their last game at Anfield for a while. They should have gone all out.
I've been wanting to say this
what?
all day. Yeah, it's the last Merseyside derby for a few years.
Everton are staying or what?
No.
So your hot take is Everton are going down?
But in fairness, it's going to be your last Champions League for a while. So, enjoy it while it lasts. But more importantly, let's wrap this thing up. The big game of the week this weekend, his team against my so-called team, London Derby, Tottenham West Ham. Let's go down the line. Predictions.
0-0. I don't care.
You could be right, actually. I'll do it quick. Spurs will win. I really don't think West Ham are very good this season. I don't even think they'll score. I think it'll be 2-0 Tottenham. Kane will score both.
I think it'll be like, Spurs win 4-2 or something.
Whoa,
and if that happens, I won't be here next week. But let us know what you think. What are your predictions for the big one, the North London Derby? Are Liverpool back, or is it just a lucky blip? Send all of your comments and questions, and we thank you for all of them. And don't forget,
good quote.
We are live as well on YouTube at
9 p.m. on Wednesday for this part.
Right, so you can place your comments there and send all of your comments to
Yahoo Southeast Asia on YouTube, Yahoo SG, Yahoo_MY on Twitter, and Yahoo SEA on TikTok.
Brilliant. And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in part 2, where we get stuck into Singapore football. See you there.